Hey there, action enthusiasts. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into an adrenaline-pumping recap of The Informer, a cinematic thrill ride that hit screens in 2019. Pete works undercover as an agent for the FBI's New York City field office. He has successfully infiltrated a Polish crime organization and is in the process of gathering solid evidence to indict the crime boss known as the General. He shares this dangerous secret with his wife and daughter and informs them that they need to go on a trip because the long-awaited operation is beginning. His handler, Erica, briefs her team on the plan. Pete is tasked with delivering 6 pounds of fentanyl to the General, and that's when her team will come into play. Pete takes precautions to secure his family's safety, locking them in a warehouse and leaving his wife with the key. He tells her that if he hasn't returned by 1 p.m. the next day, she should leave the state. Pete meets with Erica in a rundown bathroom, where she provides him with a phone for communication and a wire to wear. In case things go south during the operation, he is instructed to request a smoke, and Erica's team will come to his rescue. The operation involves Pete and Stasek, a member of the organization, meeting with a diplomat who possesses the batch of fentanyl. They follow the plan by placing the fentanyl in another bag and dropping off the diplomat at a hotel. However, Stasek decides to surprise the General with cash instead of fentanyl, mentioning that he already has a buyer for the drugs. Pete, maintaining his cover, remains silent. This unexpected change in plans complicates things, but Erica decides to continue monitoring them. At a club, the nervous buyer confesses that he lacks enough money to purchase all 6 pounds of fentanyl but can manage to buy 3. This doesn't sit well with Stasek, but Pete calms the situation. Pete begins questioning the buyer about how he intends to raise the $85,000 needed in 2 hours, which raises doubts about his credibility. When Stasek steps away to take a call, Pete confronts him about being a cop and urges him to leave while he still can. However, the buyer draws a gun and badge, leading Stasek to shoot him. Pete, shocked, signals for Erica to intervene, but she calls off the plan and drives past him, leaving Pete to deal with the situation. He ends up helping to dispose of the body. Later, at a sausage factory, Pete meets the General, who calmly discusses the death of a New York cop and the potential NYPD involvement if they don't handle the situation. Although Stasek was the one who killed the cop, the General manipulates the situation, making it seem like Stasek saved Pete's life. The General tells Pete that he now owes him his life's worth and demands that he go to prison for 5 years to run the drug ring from the inside. To further intimidate Pete, the General brings up his family, leaving Pete with no choice. Pete and his family are returned home, and he contacts Erica. She informs him that she couldn't intervene because it would jeopardize their 4-year plan and hangs up. Pete is frustrated with his wife, Sophia, for not leaving as instructed, but they quickly reconcile, and she helps him clean off the blood. Detective Grentz, a close friend of the slain officer, begins investigating the murder and quickly connects it to a Polish gang. He uncovers footage that ties Pete to the crime. In a meeting with Erica and her boss, Montgomery, they inform Pete that he's in deep trouble. They've been attempting to cover up the situation, but their efforts have been in vain. Pete wants out, but they insist on following the General's plan, which means locking him up. They offer him a deal: if he can gather enough evidence inside the state prison regarding the fentanyl distribution network, he will be granted his freedom. However, if he refuses, he will be exposed as an undercover agent and sent to prison for the murder of an undercover police officer, leaving him with little choice. Back at home, Pete places recordings of his conversation with Erica in a box, preserving vital evidence. In the morning, Stasek visits Pete and provides him with some fentanyl to smuggle into prison. Pete breaks the news to Sophia about his new undercover assignment. He spends the entire day with his daughter, taking notes on the layout of the prison and preparing for his mission. When they return home, a Polish gang and even the General visit Pete's house. To protect his family, Pete pretends not to have any children and hints that he is willing to keep his end of the bargain by taking the fall for their previous actions. Grentz, who has been surveilling Pete's house, informs his partner that the General has left Pete's household. The next day, Pete plays the role of an abusive husband while Sophia calls the police to have him locked up. Grentz observes Pete being taken away. In prison, Pete is welcomed back by a corrupt guard and escorted to his bunk bed. It is surrounded by African Americans, but one of the prisoners bribes the guard to make space for his group, ensuring Pete's safety. During a night raid, the warden, at Erica's request, places Pete in a cleaning program. Pete gets acquainted with his Polish prison gang members and is given a shiv to prepare for an upcoming brawl. Grentz visits Erica and seeks information about Pete, but she pretends not to know much. Montgomery intervenes and emphasizes that they have no connection to Pete. However, when Grentz presents surveillance photos of Pete and Erica taken on the day of the officer's death, He warns them that a conflict between the FBI and NYPD could lead to serious consequences if they are somehow linked to Pete. Sophia follows Pete's instructions on how to deliver contraband to the prison. With the help of a drone, she drops the package on the roof of the prison. The next morning, Pete, as part of the cleaning program, manages to retrieve the package from the roof. Grants visits Sophia at her workplace in an attempt to gather more information about Pete, as he's uncertain about Pete's involvement in the officer's murder. Sophia tells him that she cannot help and asks him to leave, but Grants leaves his card in case she changes her mind. Later, Grants communicates with Pete through one of his informants, advising him that there will be a time when he won't have his gang's protection in the yard. If Pete wants to survive, his only option is to signal his willingness to talk about the undercover cop's death. Pete is then led by the corrupt guard to meet Phelps, the African-American gang leader who controls the prison's drug trade. Phelps initially sees Pete as a threat and his men try to kill him. However, Pete reveals that he is an undercover FBI informant and expresses his desire to bring down the general. Phelps agrees to help him with information, provided Pete stays alive. Meanwhile, back at FBI headquarters, Montgomery orders Erica to eliminate Pete and terminate all operations related to the general. The heat from Gren's investigation is intensifying, and Pete is now an unofficial informant. Montgomery warns Erica that if the NYPD discovers what happened in the room where the undercover cop was shot, not only will her career be ruined, but her life will also be in jeopardy. If she doesn't comply, Montgomery implies that she will be the sacrificial lamb, blamed for going too far to impress her superiors. At night, Pete goes to relieve himself, and he's on edge when one of Phelps' men approaches him and discreetly provides him with names of individuals who control the distribution network within the prison. Later, he contacts Erica and tells her that he has uncovered the entire network operated by the general. He pleads with her to get him out of the dangerous situation, but Erica is unable to assist him as she has been ordered to eliminate him and is more concerned about saving herself. Desperate to protect his family, Pete makes another call, this time to Sophia. He instructs her to turn over the tapes of his interactions with Erica to Detective Grants and advises her to leave the state. Erica, following her orders, turns to the general's lawyer, who confirms Pete's identity as an undercover agent. Erica then confronts Sophia, takes possession of the tapes, and reveals that the FBI has been monitoring their conversations. Overwhelmed with guilt, Erica listens to the tapes and hears herself promising to protect Sophia and Pete's daughter. In prison, Pete realizes that he has been compromised, and a confrontation is imminent. He searches for his shiv but finds it missing. As he prepares for a fight, he is ambushed by a member of the Polish gang. However, Pete manages to overpower him and sounds the alarm. Taking the corrupt guard hostage, Pete demands to speak to the press and his wife. He proceeds to a desolate tower, knocks out the guard, and uses the radio to communicate his demands. His military training helps him mark the lookout angles from the tower windows. Meanwhile, Stasek confronts Pete's family, who were recently in contact with Detective Grants. Grants arrives at Pete's house and eliminates one of Stasek's men. He ascends the stairs and gets shot in the leg. Sophia shoots Stasek, but she is wounded as well. At the prison, snipers take their positions, and Montgomery arrives, ready to give the order to shoot Pete when the opportunity arises. The warden is present to meet Pete's demands, and Pete calls his wife, assuring her that he will survive. Montgomery interrupts the call. Pete reveals himself, holding the corrupt guard hostage to distract the snipers, and exchanges clothing with him. He then revives the guard and allows him to take him hostage, exposing himself to the snipers. They shoot at Pete, rupturing a CO2 tank, and causing an explosion. Pete manages to escape and hide as the tank detonates. Erica arrives at the scene as the prison burns. Montgomery confirms that the mission is accomplished. Firefighters take Pete, who is disguised as a guard, to an ambulance. Erica identifies him and joins him inside. After everything they've been through, she intends to assist Pete by orchestrating a hostage situation. She hands him a note and a phone, and he escapes. Later, Erica meets with Montgomery on a ferry, appearing to comply with his order to kill Pete. However, it turns out to be a setup, as Erica has been wiretapped and has exposed Montgomery's corrupt activities to the NYPD. Montgomery is subsequently arrested. Pete wants to reunite with his family, but Erica discreetly signals to him that there are numerous undercover agents in the area. Detective Grants approaches him and provides fake documents from Erica, instructing him to lay low until the situation calms down. Pete shares one last meaningful look with Sophia before disappearing into hiding.